So do you need an iPhone cage to shoot good iPhone video? Yeah, I mean, of course you do. Or no, you don't, not at all. In reality, it really just depends on what you're doing. But for me, and most of the work that I do, especially on this YouTube channel, I like using a cage. Let me break it down for you. On the higher end, if you're using a DOF adapter like Danny Boyle did on 28 Years Later, which I just made a video about, then you need a cage. Or like I have done on numerous short films, etc., then you definitely have to use a cage, and you really have to use the Beast cage, which is the granddaddy of all cages. Or the DOF will actually work on the Beast Grip Pro, although I don't think it's quite as secure. And as a side note, it's one of my favorite cages, but we'll talk more about that later. But of course, most people don't shoot with a DOF adapter, but you might still be using a phone for filmmaking or YouTube or corporate video. And in those cases, I still like using a cage. And yeah, the Beast cage is great, but it's also one of the more expensive and one of the heavier ones. And so other options from Freewell or Small Rig or newer, or even the Moment Super Cage are all really good ones to consider. For me, the main thing a cage does is give you a way to grip it and hold it, especially if you're shooting handheld, but also the ability to mount stuff on it, professional accessories, and also mounting it on a tripod. And when it comes to accessories, I'm talking about USB-C hubs, SSDs, monitors, you name it. Without a cage, they're almost impossible to connect, and that even includes microphones, especially wireless mics. Using a cage also adds more weight, which can be important, again, shooting handheld, or even doing pans and tilts on a tripod. It just smooths things out. And then lastly, and probably more obvious, it adds protection for the phone, especially if you're doing anything more rugged or robust and moving around a lot. And then continuing with accessories, if you use the Moment Super Cage, you have a lot of options built in, because that cage includes USB-C ports, an HDMI, and even an SD card slot. So it's a really interesting all-in-one option that keeps the setup more compact, even though you're still using a cage. The thing about the Super Cage though is you cannot add lenses to it. What you would do is use the Moment case and add a lens to that, or you could use any case for that matter, from Sandmark or Freewell, etc. So in that sense, it's definitely more of a universal cage. And universal cages can be a great way to go. That way, if you change phones later, you can keep the same cage. All the cages I mentioned earlier are for a specific phone. Most brands offer universal cages, but Small Rig and Ulanzi and a few others have some really great options. And that does include the Beast Grip Pro, which I mentioned earlier I use all the time. What's great about it is you can use the half cage configuration and just a case with it. And that way you could mount lenses to the case and keep it more simple. And that way you could also use it with any phone, including Android. And of course, you can also add lenses to the Beast Grip Pro. It comes with a 37mm mount. So it would just depend on what lenses you have and what mount you have and what adapters you want to use. But it's a really great universal solution. And speaking of lenses, that's another great benefit to using a cage. Depending on the make or model, most will accept lenses and filters. Filters are very important too, especially when you're doing anything on the filmmaking side or the more professional side. You want to use filters. So you can either attach lenses directly to the cage and then put a filter on the lens, or some of the cages you can attach the filter directly to the cage itself instead of the lens. So there's multiple ways to do it. It really just depends on the cage and the configuration you want to use and the ecosystem that you're in. Now, if I'm shooting family videos or vacation videos, then no, I'm not hauling a cage around. But for pretty much everything else I do, even right now, holding this right here in my hand, I find using a cage is a great way to go, and I highly recommend it. And it really doesn't matter which cage you want. I've mentioned many in this video, and I'll put links to all those in the description. Just get the cage that fits for the work that you do. But again, I find them extremely useful in the majority of shooting situations. How about you? Do you use a cage? What's your favorite cage, and what kind of video work do you do with your iPhone? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. This is Blake Calhoun. Please like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.